night whenever the nerves start to come out, not only in the competitors, but in the fans as well. And everyone is full of anticipation to find out what will happen and who will win one of the most prestigious trophies in all of dirt racing, the Golden Driller. Welcome to Dirt Vision's pre-race coverage of the 39th Chili Bowl Nationals, powered by NOS Energy Drink. My name is Connor Wade. I'm from our Dirt Vision studio in Concord, North Carolina. A time zone over, halfway across the country in Tulsa, Oklahoma, you'll find Dave Rieff and Ashton Smythe in the SageNet Center. Dave, I know I've been with you all week. We've been talking about all the storylines of this great event. Ashton, who you can catch pit reporting several Dirt Vision properties throughout the season, has been spectating the Chili Bowl, making her first trip to the event. Dave, you came back this year after covering this event several years ago. Ashton, for you, you're witnessing this event as a fan for the first time. And Dave, to start with you, what's it been like to be back?
Well, it's been exactly like you'd expect it to be. You know what it's like. She's seeing it now firsthand. But I got to be honest, I was having a pretty calm Saturday afternoon until we kick-started this coverage. And you said the nerves are starting to go up, and even the fans. And I realized they are going up. This is your first experience, Ashton. I remember what mine was like 30 years ago. We'll get into that here in just a little bit, but what's it like? I'm sure you're going to say some of the same things that I did 30 years ago.
Dave, it's been unlike any other race, any other event I've ever attended, and you just hit it nail on the head. The energy within this building, the SageNet Center, is unmatched. Everyone is so excited to be here. You know, I've had the opportunity to go sit on the backstretch in the Turn 2 Rowdies.
The Rowdies, yeah.
And partake in all the activities here at the Chili Bowl and just walking around, talking to fans. It's an incredible experience.
We're going to have some pictures we'll share with you in just a moment, but I know I shared the 2002 Chili Bowl media guide when this place was only about half full. Now this pit area stretches all the way to the back wall, and what was once a rectangle, that was the trade show. You could easily walk between vendors, is now more like a serpentine. You got to wind your way around the SageNet Center.
Yeah, tons of partners have come out here. You can find different merch trailers, so many things for the fans to come check out here. And, you know, it stretches from the whole length of the SageNet Center all the way down to the front stretch grandstand. So there's a lot of other stuff to do here besides just catch the racing action.
You know, probably the biggest thing that's going to separate us from our experiences now is you're doing all the crazy things that the crazies do here that I did 30 years ago. I'm a little bit older now and I have to pace myself. My first one was only 3 days. Can you believe that? And now this thing stretches 6 days, 7 if you include practice.
Yeah, absolutely crazy. I've been here since Sunday night. We drove down from North Carolina and have taken in all of the experiences, gone out, hung out with all my friends who are down here, and you know, really full sent it for the full week this week down here.
Now the youngsters, they're making their own memories. They're going to have digital photos, but I, in addition to that 2002 media guide, brought back some old photos I found of some of my fun times here. I got to go back to 1999, and let's start with the winner that particular year. It was Wisconsin's Dan Boris, and I will tell you what, just like the backstretch Rowdies, there was a large contingent of Badger State fans that when Dan Boris took that lead and went on to get that win, the first of many for him, the place went absolutely wild. You got a golf cart that took you to the press conference. They also took the runner-ups that happened to be Corey Kruisman out of California, who would go on and win. Sammy Swindell in the midst of all of his great runs. Let's continue with the photos. I love the camera guys. Guys like Jackson Steele behind our lens that get the job done. And this is Chris Crone back in the day. Those people that hang around Knoxville, Iowa, know that that man has been there since the mid-90s. He's a part of the Dirt Vision family. He's still there today. And even in coming down just to have fun this weekend, actually has been pressed into Flo's coverage. He is certainly a guy that gets it done. Of course, the guy that certainly got us on the map is Greg Stevens. You know, before there were live TV shows and before there were streams and things like that, well, there was only one way you could watch the Chili Bowl, and that was on a VHS tape that Greg Stevens would work out of the back of a trailer and painstakingly took together. Everybody had high anticipation. When was it going to show up? And when it did, it certainly was the first thing that went into the VHS. Of course, we would not be here without guys like Chris Crone, who's in this picture again. Kevin Eckert, who was the Walkopedia, Brian Walker of all the stat fame, long before Brian Walker walked into the SageNet Center. And then there's John Gibson. Yeah, that's right, the guy on the right side of your screen. That is our World of Outlaw NOS Energy Drink announcer, John Gibson, back in the day, enjoying some of the festivities. He loves this event just like everybody else. But you know what I remember most about 1999? I believe we did a pay-per-view that went to certain racetracks across the country. 2025, I know they were in Knoxville, Eldora, Williams Grove. Well, one of the things I got to do is take a 360 two-seat sprint car ride with Jack Hewitt. around the Expo Raceway, and it was incredible. I hope everybody enjoyed those pictures as much as I did actually finding them and digging them out of a box. But what's going to be your one takeaway for sure, minus, of course, the winner who's still to come?
Yeah, the camaraderie within this pit area is one that's unlike any other event. You know, you have your big teams like KKM, you have your Chad Boats, but at the end of the day, all the race car drivers are coming together, all the teams are coming together and having fun here in Tulsa at the Chili Bowl, and it's unlike anything else.
And Connor, you're doing a great job back there at the studio. I know you're enjoying it being there, but you're also missing it here, and can't wait to get you back to this facility.
Much for bringing those pictures into our broadcast as well. John Gibson, he looked pretty good back whenever he was young. Many races announced ago. We'll have to show Gibson that picture at some point. Guys, the next thing we're going to see, the D mains just wrapped up. The next thing we're going to see before the C mains is the pole shuffle. It is going to set the starting lineup for the front 5 rows of tonight's Chili Bowl. The pole shuffle is a King of the Hill style event. 10 drivers got into the pole shuffle by locking in by finishing top 2 in the 5 prelim nights that we had Monday through Friday. Kyle Larson, of course, has the 1. Landon Brooks, Logan Seavey, Tanner Thorson, Emerson Axum, Gavin Miller, Shane Galovic, Ryan Bernal, Jason Persley, Brenham Crouch also in it. Guys, I have a nugget that I want to throw to you guys that I just threw out on our last social update that we did. The last 13 Chili Bowl winners have come from the front 2 rows of the feature on Saturday night. This pole shuffle is really important.
It is, all the way from 10th on back. And who's to say that you can't go from 10th on back? In fact, we heard Ryan Bernal say it's important to get at least 2 or 3 positions. He's stacked, again, random draw for these positions at the back of the pack, but he wants to go up as high as he can because, well, you know what? These race car drivers say they don't count points, they don't pay attention to things like that, but they know where the winners come from.
100%, especially with the amount of talent that's going to end up in this A main. By the time we get past the pole shuffle, past the C's, past the B's, into the A, every single position counts. You need to start up front to be able to get it done. There's also 3 winners in the pole shuffle alone. That's not even including all the guys who still have to race their way into the A main. So, you know, that pole shuffle is ever important.
You know what's interesting, though, Connor, about is a lot of these guys really don't time in midgets very often. Sometimes they do, and of course, they timed here for the Invitational Race of Champions to begin with, but this whole timing thing is going to be new to them, and I tried to get them to give me the tidbits to what it takes to qualify, to go out and just race against the clock, how hard you got to push yourself versus a race, and, well, everybody was pretty tight-lipped, but you can best believe all of these race cars are going to have a couple of tweaks on them that we're not going to see in tonight's 40-lapper to make sure they're quick in the pole shuffle coming up in just a little bit.
There has not been a lot of qualifying at the Chili Bowl over the years. Last year was the first year that they did qualifying during the pole shuffle. USAC is the only national midget tour that still qualifies, so you're right. Guys that run midgets full-time throughout the year, unless they run USAC specifically, they may not qualify all that often. One thing about the pole shuffle last year that I also want to add is that there were 9 different rounds and only 2 drivers actually won rounds. Hank Davis won the first 5 rounds. He got beat by Buddy Kofoid, who won 4 rounds in total to win the pole. So the advantage we saw was to the driver that had been out on the track, had more heat in the motor. So that's just something to pay attention to. Real quick, guys, I want to go through the lineups in the C and B mains tonight. Starting with C main number 1, Trey Marcham, an Oklahoma guy on the pole, has made the Chili Bowl before. On to row number 3, really stacked. Brady Bacon has accomplished so much in this industry, so many wins, so many championships, but he's never won the Chili Bowl. Tanner Carrick to his outside, a Monday night prelim winner in years past. We thought that he would be an A-main car, had some struggles on his prelim night, and now has to get through 2 features just to get in to that A-main event. Further on down, Colby Copeland on the inside of row number 7, it looks like. The hope for Matt Wood Racing to put all 5 of their cars in the Chili Bowl finale is still alive. Copeland has the toughest road of those 5. 3 of them already locked in, of course, so he needs to come from 13th in the C and then would have to pass a lot of cars in the B as well. On to C-main number 2, Dylan Welch was a hard charger on his prelim night early on in the week. He's going to roll off 3rd in that second C. The outside of rows 3 and 4, Jonathan Beeson and Alex Sewell, a couple of Oklahoma guys. They've been coming to the Chili Bowl a long time. They may not be guys that you think of in terms of Saturday night threats, but they know the Tulsa Expo Center very well. And J.J. Yealy on the outside of row 5. Now, granted, I think he did it in like 2003, but he went from the F main to the podium of the A main on Saturday night. So J.J. at least knows what it takes. You've got Spencer Basin, Michael Pickens, Shelby Hinton, Alex Bright, and Ethan Mitchell also tagged in the tail, that second seed drivers that came out of the D main just a couple of moments ago. On to the B mains. Chili Bowl B-mains are my favorite B-mains to watch all year. Any other night in the country, it's an A-main field. They're going to take the top 7. There's, I believe, 20 cars in each. Cannon McIntosh and Tyler Courtney on the front row of the first one. Two names that are really a who's who. McIntosh of midget racing, Courtney of just dirt racing in general. Row 2, Corey Day, changing an engine before the Saturday finale on the podium of the Chili Bowl last year. Not even guaranteed a spot in it this year. Corbin Ruschenberg, a young talent that was really impressive on his prelim night. Matt Westfall on the inside of the third row in that one, fourth a couple of nights ago. Justin Grant in a new ride, knows what it takes to get into that Chili Bowl finale and be a contender. And then on to the final B-main, in my opinion, the most stacked one of them all. Buddy Kofoid also on the podium last year, third on his prelim night, recovered from a flip. He knows what it takes to pass cars. He could potentially do that if he gets into the A. Christopher Bell, a 3-time Golden Driller winner, running to B-main at the Chili Bowl for the first time since 2015. Brent Cruz on the inside of the second row, the youngest ever to start the Chili Bowl a couple of years ago. Darren Pittman, we know the speed the MWR cars have had. Gunnar Setzer on the outside of row 3, the leading contender for Chili Bowl Rookie of the Year up to this point, really broke out in a big way on his prelim. Jerry Coons Jr. trying to make his 19th Chili Bowl start on the outside of row 4, and Blake Hahn, who wants to start his grandpa's race once again. Guys, I know that was a lot of names that I just mentioned, but there's just a lot of names in the C and B mains at the Chili Bowl. It seems like, and I tweeted this earlier this week, it seems like every night so far we've talked about a driver that's come from deep in the field of a heat race to win a heat. Seen guys go from the C to the B to the A in the prelims. Guys trudge from deep in the field in those prelim A's. I know that stat I threw out earlier that the last 13 have come from the front 2 rows, but as good as the racetrack has been, as racy as it's been, and the way we've seen guys move from deep in fields, I don't think it's out of the question that we see tonight's Driller winner come from a B. What do you guys think?
Well, certainly not with Christopher Bell being tacked in back there, Tyler Courtney being tacked in back there. That certainly could happen. We've already seen a monstrous alphabet soup runner. We documented earlier today when Joe Perry went from the N all the way to the I, just missing one more spot to go to 7 straight alphabet soup features. But it was an incredible run, and this racetrack is going to stay virtually the same all night long. Talked to a lot of these drivers. They're very happy with this racetrack. There's no rubber been put down yet today, which means this thing should stay fun from top to bottom.
100%. The track crew has done an amazing job this week getting last finishing touches before the pole shuffle here. But the person that I wanted to talk about in the B main, Cannon McIntosh, Mr. Monday Night himself, starting from the pole of B feature number 1, I believe. He's been so strong here this week, but we saw in his prelim night, he had a little bit of struggles there toward the end of his feature. So hopefully the KKM team was able to get that fixed up and he has that longer run car. Justin Grant as well is on that bubble position of his B main right now, starting next to a young driver who's made his name very well known, Cale Drake, someone who's going to be pushing hard and is going to be driving aggressive to try to make his way into the A-main tonight.
This, of course, is the biggest midget event on the calendar all season long. And what it does is forces guys like Briggs Danner, as we saw on Monday night, to throw caution to the wind and throw a slide job that he wasn't able to hold. That's a chance he took, a chance that didn't work out. It's a chance that Darren Pittman took when he went in against Jason McDougall last night, and that didn't work out very well for Jason McDougall, who's a customer of his in Ultra Shields. This is a place where feelings can get hurt, and of course, as we saw with Briggs Danner on Monday, you can hurt your own feelings and limp out of here waiting a whole nother year to try to do it all again.
Yeah, for sure. Guys, one of the major storylines coming into this year's Chili Bowl as well. In the years previous, it's been 55 laps in that finale on Saturday night. This year, it's down to 40 since for the first time since, I want to say 2011-ish, somewhere around there, right before Donnie Ray Crawford tragically passed away. But everybody's very excited about it being back to 40 laps. It's going to make things easier for the track prep crew to forecast what they need to do and what they want the racetrack to be like at the end of that 40 laps. You guys have been talking to drivers all week, Dave, especially you. What are the vibes that you get from them as far as their thoughts on it being 40 laps?
You know, the objective of this is to try to keep the track from laying down rubber. There's been the question about tire doping, something that has been addressed by Cody, what's Cody's last name? Cody Cordell, who's been addressing it with wonderfully. How about, though, Clinton Boyles calling himself out, doing his own interview when they found something wrong with his tire? But that's really the ultimate objective of dropping it from 55 to 40. They felt like it was a 3-segment race. And with these softer tires, due to perhaps tire doping, they wanted to go ahead and nip that in the bud. They're going to take those laps away. But, you know, I don't think drivers honestly care. It's the same 40 laps for everybody. About the only people that might care is if you make a 17th to 3rd run and you're there at lap 40, with those last 15, you might want them back.
Yeah, and we might see that happen tonight, but we also might see someone, like we said, the last 13 drivers have come from the front 2 rows. That initial start is so important tonight. Getting out front and getting out front, staying up front for all 40 of those laps, I think is going to be a strategy that a lot of these drivers play tonight.
And as I mentioned, Connor, talking with everybody here, they've been watching this racetrack religiously. There have been cars on this racetrack since 9 o'clock this morning. Obviously, we feel like some of the drivers feel like that if anybody might want to try to push the envelope with said tires before, they might start coming out here. But again, it hasn't seen the number of laps. Well, it won't see the number of laps with those 15 fewer. But everybody, though, says 40 is okay. If we can get this tire situation nipped in the bud, the rubber situation nipped in the bud, I'd be happy to go back to 55. But as it stands tonight, 40 is A-okay with virtually everybody.
For sure, the track prep crew has done an incredible job as well. We're going to wrap this up in just a moment. I want one more thing from each of you. If I could get 30 seconds each before we go, your driver to watch in tonight's feature.
Ashton, you're first.
Oh, am I taking it away? Okay, I'm going to go with the young gun who's kind of surprised me all week, Emerson Axum, one of the youngest drivers in the field, or not necessarily the youngest drivers in the field, but on the younger end of it, 20 years old, come out this year in his 2024 season, put his name in the books, and has come out in Chili Bowl this year, and it's just been absolutely incredible. Picked up for prelim win and is hoping to carry that into tonight. We'll see him rolling off, I believe, 5th in the pole shuffle here in just a couple minutes, so I got my eyes on Emerson Axum tonight.
Well, as Ashton pointed out, 3 former winners in the 10 drivers that will be in the pole shuffle. The other 7, though, looking for their first. Various ages. You average it out among the top 10. It averages at about 25 years of age, but there are 5 drivers 20 or younger. You're going with the youngsters. I got to go with the veterans. Surprise, I'm not going to go with Kyle Larson, who still has to prove to me that his Silver 57 will be better. And believe it or not, I'm not going to go with Logan Seavey. I think the Tanner Thorson, I've been watching his attitude, his body language, his approach all weekend long. It is straightforward. It is go get him. And I think he is going to get this field tonight.
Dave, I like it. Ashton, I love it as well. Emerson Axum, watched him all year. Actually, I've been watching him my entire life. He's a stud. And Dave, you mentioned Tanner Thorson. I was around Tanner a lot the week he won the Driller, and he was confident that week. I think he's even more confident right now. So thank you guys very much, and enjoy it tonight. So that's just a couple of the drivers going to be in tonight's 40-lap, 20,000 to win Golden Driller finale. Got to watch Kyle Larson as well, the Monday night prelim winner, the best in the world, who's seated first. Dave talked about he hasn't really exactly proven that his car is a Chili Bowl winning car yet. Kyle and Paul were not happy with the number 1K Edel chassis after Monday night, even though they won. They came back Tuesday. They've made a lot of changes. We'll have to see if those changes made them better or took them back. So we commend Dave and Jackson Steele for all of their work in the expo. Great to have Ashton join us as well. We also commend Flow Racing for their coverage of the Chili Bowl this week. That is where you can watch every lap live from the pole shuffle, the C's, the B, and the A. This is going to conclude our Dirt Vision coverage this week. It's been an honor to cover it all week long. And once again, we thank our Dirt Vision production staff as well. Good night. Enjoy the Chili Bowl. We're going to see slide jobs. We're going to see hard racing because the Golden Driller is on the line.